Hey there, it's Hardcore Sustainable, and today I'm going to be showing you an experiment that I'm doing with comfrey in my vineyard. And one thing that I spend a lot of time on in this vineyard and really kind of irritates me is the scything of grass between the vines within the rows of grapes. I'm able to use the tractor to mow in between the rows of grapes, but I don't have any kind of mower other than the scythe that will actually scythe down and mow the grass that's within the rows of grapes. And my ideal would be just not to have grass growing there at all. The problem with the grass is that it's such a competitor for water and nutrients with the grapes. And so having it get a foothold and take hold around the grapes basically means that the grapes are starved of water and nutrients, and the grapevines will not grow nearly as vigorously as they would if they didn't have that competitor. Now in a conventional vineyard, they would just go an herbicide in between all the grapes. That would kill the grass, and that's how they deal with it, by dumping poison on the land. So what I currently do in my vineyard, instead of spraying herbicide, because it's an organic vineyard, is I go and I scythe around all these grapevines. And it's about a 3.5 foot swath of grass that I have to mow down in between all these grapevines. It's scything around obstacles, which takes a lot longer than just scything in an open field, which is why it ends up taking so long. I do get the benefit of using the scythed grass as mulch around the grapevines, but it's not a very effective mulch. You know, one thing that I really hate doing is work. So if I can eliminate as much work as I can get a lot more done in general. And I spend probably 12 or 13 hours every time I mow this vineyard just in scything between the grapevines. And this is a 1 acre vineyard. So thinking about permaculture and systems that are more sustainable, my idea is to take comfrey and have it be a living mulch around the grapes and in between the grapes. And because comfrey has deeper sort of tap roots, it's less competition for the grapevines, there's not as many plants, and it's much easier to control its growth, because I could go through here and probably in 5 minutes at the most chop down an entire row's worth of comfrey that if it was grass, it would take me probably at least an hour to scythe. And as you can see from this little clip of a comfrey row that's growing alongside of a garden here at Dancing Rabbit, it creates about a 3.5 foot wide swath of just nothing but leaves. So it basically is a living mulch on the ground. And that's about the width of the space that I end up having to scythe between these grapevines within the rows of grapes. And comfrey is one of those plants that is so easy to propagate. Basically, it's really hard to kill once you have it. So I'm gonna try it on just one row of grapes here, because if it doesn't work out, I could have a problem on my hands, because it's pretty much there forever. So what I'll be doing is taking little root cuttings of comfrey and planting them in between the grapes here, with the idea that they will outcompete the grass. They'll create a living mulch that will basically surround the grapevines and also fill in the gaps in between the grapevines that I end up having to scythe. So it rained just the other day, not too long ago. It didn't rain a lot, and it has been quite a while since it rained before that. You can see this is basically almost bone dry. This spot over here in the middle is pretty much bone dry. And this is because of the grass. This is what grass does. It just sucks all the water out of the soil. And this part that I've even mulched recently has wet ground still. So that's moist ground. This is dry, and so the grape doesn't have as much moisture available to use for its growing. And then I end up having to irrigate more. So I've got most of this row planted, and I put 3 comfrey plants in between each grapevine. And now we just have to water them and wait, see how big they get by the end of the season, see if their experiment works. So we'll come back and check that out with you later on in the season. All right, so we'll have to come back and do a little update on the comfrey planting out in the vineyard. It's going to take a while for those plants to get established, and we haven't gotten a lot of rain lately, so they're going to need some water to get some good leaf growth going. But I want to take a little time to address a couple questions. I thought it might be interesting to do this kind of thing at the end of some of the videos. I've never done it before, where I talk about some comments that people have made, because I really would like to make more of a connection with you all out there, and I feel like addressing some of your comments and answering questions. I do always follow the comments, and I try to answer people's questions if they have them, but it would be nice to do it in the video every once in a while for some of the more interesting questions. So one of the comments that I wanted to address was on the video where I show Kyle talking about the flat surface rocket stove that he made, and at some point the camera points down to his feet, and Elrico said, "Dude, what is with your feet? Part reptilian?" And I hadn't really even noticed that that his feet looked different. I thought that was a pretty astute observation, Sherlock Elrico. And anyone have a guess as to what Kyle's feet are covered with, or why they look like that? So Kyle had been doing some work earlier on, I think, a cob wall in the kitchen, and he had cob all over his feet, because part of the process of making cob is stomping it, and cob is basically just a mixture of sand, clay, and straw. So that was stuck to his feet. So it wasn't any like reptile feet or hobbit feet or anything. It was just not having cleaned his feet off after he was stomping cob and before he did the video. And then there was the recent video that I did about the worms that I was finding in my rain barrel, and a lot of the responses were sort of along the lines of, you must have compost or some gunk build up in your gutters, that the worms are somehow dropping eggs in there and then hatching out, and then that's washing off the roof into your rain barrel. The thing is that that side of the roof does not have any gutters on it, so all that water is just coming off straight off the roof. There's no gutter to catch it and no place for worms to be born. So is it some kind of like immaculate worm conception, or is it tied to geoengineering, where they're dropping worms from the sky to seed the clouds and then control the weather so that they can then in turn control us and our minds? Can't know. We really can't know. I mean, it's all a big conspiracy. Could it be that chemtrails are actually worms? It would explain what happens, how they end up in the rain barrels. I mean, it all makes sense. So anyways, keep the comments coming, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. Give a thumbs up to the video, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Before you go, wait. One other thing that I forgot to mention is that when you subscribe to a channel, YouTube no longer reliably will update you when that channel releases a new video. So really the only way that you can do that is to click on the bell that gives you notifications. Because if you just subscribe to a channel, it really kind of means nothing. except for I guess it means something to me because then I can tell who's interested in my channel. But to actually get updates and notifications about a channel, you have to click on that bell. So if you haven't done that yet and you're a subscriber, this is a great way to find out when I release a new video.